Yeah, so I've got some good contacts with pharmaceutical companies and with chemists go off and do all sorts of different jobs. They like to talk to themselves about the wide range of things they do. And many of the jobs these people do don't specify a particular sort of degree. So just by doing the arts and sciences degree, you're not restricting yourself to a small subset of jobs that are available. Example, a pharmaceutical company, 80% of their jobs are actually involving any particular degree. They want people with a degree, but it doesn't matter which one. In the science side, there's lots of policy jobs in the civil service where people could do, where in fact the breadth and understanding the societal consequences of what you do is very important. There's all the marketing and product development sides where it's very interesting, as well as knowing about the technological properties of your product, to also understand a little bit about how marketing works, about how you can actually explain the product to your audience is very important as well. So I think there's actually a huge swathe of jobs involved with science that don't require a chemist or a physicist. Okay, if you want to be a dentist, then you need to do a degree in dentistry, but actually the vast majority of modern jobs really like this range of interdisciplinarity. In the second year, there's a module that's to do with museum stories, for actually learning by studying objects. And I think that's a really fascinating thing. I'm particularly interested in sort of object-based and project-based learning. I think it's a very good addition to some of the traditional ways of teaching at university. And in fact, some of the engineering science modules that we're going to do in part of the science and engineering pathway are going to be project-based. I went to a very interesting talk recently at a conference in Holland, where it was by a physicist who spent his last few years x-raying early bronze statues to learn, in fact, how the statues are made. And it produced a total revelation for the ages of these species, how they were really much more sophisticated in their construction than people thought. Learned a lot about the actual science of how they were built using this technique, but also then about how these things must have been made, how the level of skill in these cultures must have been really far greater than people originally thought. So I think take the science and engineering pathway as my major, but I'd really want to interact more with the engineering side than I ever did as an undergraduate, learning about, I do a lot of design and development now, the design aspects of engineering and the modelling, and actually the sort of physics that I didn't do as an undergraduate but is now really useful to me. So I'd like to do a combination of sort of looking at the molecular properties of things, but also then thinking about design and how you develop apparatus to look at those. And then the consequences. What I've really got interested in my work recently is where it actually applies in planetary atmospheres or in plasmas. And so learning about earth sciences and plasma properties in physics would also be something I'd be interested in. And a minor, I thought a little bit of this. I'd like to do history of art. That's what I'd really do, something totally different. But in fact, I've become very intrigued, like when I spoke about these objects, that how science can actually tell you a lot about art history, probing the provenance of paintings, but also learning about how the sort of scientific quality of what people could do at different stages in artistic development actually determined how people express themselves through art. I think that sort of linking of what technology allowed people to do and what people did in the history of art is a really interesting thing. So I'm looking forward to meeting the students. I'm really interested in seeing the people that are going to take this degree. I think they're going to be interesting individuals with a wide range of sort of interests, and I think it's going to be fascinating seeing how they respond to the really interesting range of courses we've got that are offered for them. Sometimes you see with people doing the chemistry degree that people like a certain bit of chemistry and then they've got to force their way through the other bits that they don't like. Well, here we've got a chance for students to really choose where they're interested in and their specialisms are. And so making these links between the different parts of the degree and how students do that and respond to it, I think is going to be fascinating. So I'm really looking forward to meeting students.